let me bring in, to start our look at the State of the Union, we're going to look at the state of the presidential race and the state of the California primary. And let me bring in Tom Hayden. Tom Hayden is the Nation Institute's Carrie McWilliams Fellow. He served in the California Legislature, Assembly, and Senate for a total of 18 years. He, of course, is one of the founders of Students for Democratic Society and one of the leaders of the anti-war movement in the 60s. And he also has turned into quite an author and is the author of 11 books, including his autobiography, Reunion, and a wonderful book on spirituality and the environment, Lost Gospel of the Earth. And his most recent book is Radical Nomad. It's a biography of C. Wright Mills. Tom Hayden.
Hey, Terrence. Welcome to the 5 o'clock drive time. How are you?
I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
I got home so that you could call me, so I'm quietly at home.
Okay, very well. Tom, I think the first thing I want to talk about is I got notice today that you had endorsed Barack Obama for your vote in the California primary. Let's talk about that first. And that probably, and then we'll see what's left out of that conversation and maybe go beyond that. But what led you, to feel the need to endorse anyone, and why Obama?
Well, briefly, there's nothing like an election to focus the mind. It's coming up in 10 days, and I'm not going to bypass the February 5th election. So, I've been pondering it for a very long time, and have not been inclined to endorse anyone because I have been working almost exclusively, not entirely, but almost exclusively on Iraq. And I feel like I have my hands full trying to push all these candidates and others to end that war. And I didn't see that endorsing somebody would necessarily be helpful. So I stayed out of it, but here we are, and there's only certain choices, and I think the decisive factor for me in the case of Barack Obama was the factor of a new generation of activists like nothing I've seen in many years, finding him to be their inspiration, and they may, at the end of the day, lead him.
We probably also hope that, don't we?
Well, it happened, there's this famous statement by Gandhi that I think I mentioned, there go my people, I must go with them, for I'm their leader. And when Roosevelt was president in the 30s, he was certainly driven into the better part of the New Deal by the striking and radicalized industrial workers. And certainly John Kennedy did not start out as a civil rights advocate or a disarmament advocate and so on. So there are cases, they're mysterious, where there's a mass movement ready to be awakened, and almost anything can spark it. It can be a sit-in, as you know, or it can be a candidacy. And I haven't seen anything like this. I mean, I'm telling you, it's not just young people, black people, brown people, traditional Democrats, the Ted Kennedy Democrats.
For those of you who don't know, Carolyn Kennedy wrote an op-ed in yesterday's Sunday New York Times in which she endorsed Obama, saying that it reminded her of her own father and the effect he was having on people. And then Ted Kennedy today endorsed Obama.
I think everybody knows that by now. It's helpful, certainly in the Democratic primary. Anyway, it's not because I think Obama will definitely get us out of Iraq. It's not on the issues. He's good enough on the issues, but not good enough on the war itself. And yet, it seems to me that between him and Hillary Clinton, at least, he's somewhat better on the war. And when I think of the generation he would bring into office with him, I think of a lot of reformers and semi-radical people. And when I think of the people that Hillary Clinton would bring into office with her, I think of people who have been there before and would tend to be seeking reappointment, so to speak. So you're likely to get more mileage in terms of a spirited reform consciousness in the country and in Washington under Obama. As for Edwards, that's a good vote. He certainly has changed in the past 5 years. He certainly has driven the issues agenda of the party, and yet I have a hard time seeing him winning a primary. So I thought, well, since it's so tight between Obama and Clinton, one should weigh in where you think you can, and therefore, I just made this decision for Obama. And I'm going on at some length only to share my analysis and my thinking.
Right.
I'm not campaigning here or, trying to do anything more than what I usually do these days, which is try to analyze the problem, and that's where I came out. Anyway,
let me just engage you for a few more minutes, Tom, and sort of some of the both pros and cons that I find myself feeling. One person pointed to a photo in the L.A. Times recently, a couple of days ago, after the South Carolina primary, and it was the hopeful look on the faces of a number of black people in the audience that was captured in that photo that began to turn her from supporting Hillary to supporting Obama. And when you said that you haven't seen anything like it in years, where have you seen it? Have you been on the ground in primary states and seen the young people? Or have you seen it here in California?
I mean, I saw it in the Chicago mayor's race of Harold Washington at a time when Chicago was utterly segregated. It was the people that put Harold Washington over the top.
No, what I meant was, where have you seen Obama's people? Have you been in crowds?
I've seen him speak at a rally here in Los Angeles. I've seen him close up. I've seen him at a distance, and I've seen a lot of him on television. Mm-hmm. Nothing more, nothing less.
And one of the thoughts that people have said, of course, is the question of experience. And it seems to me you spoke to that a bit when you said experience is not just, you didn't say this, but I'm reading the implication. Experience is not just the experience of the candidate or the elected, but there's the experience of the people they will surround themselves with, the people they will bring into the cabinet and into the and you come down on saying if experience means a replay of the Clinton administration, and if change or inexperience means new, young, bright people, you opt for the second.
That's about right. I don't agree with the cutting of the question, change versus experience. I would wish Barack Obama had more experience. I can understand why he emphasizes the change part of the equation, but I do think that there's something out there. There's just the people are very, very, very anxious for throwing the bums out and doing something new, and the people who specifically campaigned for him are hugely impressive to me. They are just some of them are old guard, yes, but for the most part, they're people who believe in the spirit moving things forward. They're people who actually have hope. They're people that believe we can transcend our cynical, limited definitions of reality, that transformation is what we need and not just tinkering around. And
those are the kind of people that wrote the Port Huron Statement, aren't they?
Yeah, but that was at a time when many, many more people were waking up. This is a case where, the Obama campaign seems to be stirring these people from wherever they've been. In the 60s, there were movements first, and then the Kennedys came along and responded more or less to the movements. Here you have something that's happening from the inside out. The channel is Obama, but I think it's not just a spirited movement. they have proven in several states that they can drive registration and turnout to such an extent that the pollsters have a very hard time evaluating what's going to happen, because in South Carolina, Obama was going to win, and I thought the Clintons would say, well, it's only because he got the black vote and
right.
so on. But, the problem was that the polling didn't estimate the turnout. The turnout was unbelievable.
Exactly. And that's one of the things I think that excites people.
I'm very concerned about beating whoever the Republican is, and I'm very concerned about beating apathy, and I'm very concerned about the revival of grassroots activism in electoral politics. And, as for the issues versus the movement, if I look at those crowds, and I've been in those Obama crowds, if you look at them, there's nobody there that wants to invade Pakistan. There's nobody there that wants to extend the war in Iraq. They're already way ahead of him on the issues, don't you think?
Yes, I do. And that comment,
pull him. He needs to.
That's right. By the way, that comment that you made about Roosevelt, I made it from probably 92 to 2000, saying that that Clinton needed us to make him more than he was, and I don't think we did that. Before I let you go in about 2 minutes, let me ask you about the issue of Iraq. Both Hillary and Obama are for the removal, but they're leaving trainers, private contractors, essentially. What's your thinking and your hope in that regard?
Well, I think the peace movement has seeded SEEDED public opinion enough that these Democrats have certainly moved farther than they expected, and they just have to move some more. The key distinction is between getting our troops home and getting the war truly over. They're debating when the combat troops leave, and on that, Edwards is the best, less than a year, he says. Obama is second best, 16 to 18 months. And Hillary has been swishing around back and forth. It's not clear. At one point, not so long ago, it would have been after 4 years. It would have been 2013. I think she's moved that timetable up. But all of them are more or less following the Petraeus counterinsurgency approach, or haven't declared otherwise. They all would leave behind counterterrorism units, advisors embedded with the Iraqi army, shifting the role of combat to the Iraqi army. They will leave unknown numbers of private security contractors. What have I left out? It adds up into the range of 50, 75,000, even after the combat troops are withdrawn, if they are withdrawn. And this is to turn it into a version of Central America, as Central America was a counterinsurgency conflict in the 1970s.
Mm-hmm.
So what we have to do, I think, is educate ourselves and others about the difference between combat troops and counterinsurgency forces, and we have to ask these candidates tougher questions about, A, when you're going to get all the combat troops out, and B, do you plan to end the occupation and bring back the trainers, advisors, and counterterrorism units anytime soon, and exactly when? Otherwise, if we win in November, we'll have to be putting the pressure on in January, and hopefully this momentum that I said is pulling the candidates forward might be enough to speed up the withdrawal of all those troops. Otherwise, how are you going to get funding for health care?
Exactly.
So that's what we have to get the media to understand, and get the activists to ask the candidates more about.
Okay, what I see there is, if there's a candidate that is attracting the most likely activists, then it is our job as activists to keep pushing that candidate in the direction we want him. 10 seconds to answer, Tom. Any predictions about Super Tuesday?
No, I do think these are brilliantly executed campaigns with very smart people running them, and I can tell you what they're looking at is to secure delegates.
Yep.
And I'd be surprised if there was some kind of knockout, as they say. I think
I think this.
I think Hillary Clinton has a slight edge, and that, as we've seen, can evaporate very, very rapidly.
And evaporate when turnout increases is sort of what I see.
And then when the spirit of Obama gets on the move, and you get Ted Kennedy out here working with the Latinos and the unions, where Obama can use some help, almost anything is possible, and it's been a surprising ride, hasn't it?
It certainly has. Thank you, Tom.
All right.
And we'll be back in touch, I'm sure, during 08. Thanks a lot, Tom.
Okay.